Keanu had always found it strange that the only thing left to him by his father was an old pocket watch. No letter, no will, just a silver-colored, scratched-up timepiece that had long since stopped ticking. For years, it sat in a dusty box on the top shelf of his bookshelf, untouched and forgotten. One morning, Keanu woke with a strange weight pressing on his chest. Right over his heart, he felt something he hadn't felt in years, an ache, a sense of something missing. Almost instinctively, he walked to the shelf and pulled out the box. The watch was still there, but this time it was ticking. In shock, he picked it up. The watch that had been broken for years was now alive. He hadn't wound it, it didn't have a battery, and yet it ticked. The time it showed stopped him cold. 03:12. That was the exact time his father had died. This couldn't be a coincidence. The ticking echoed through the silence of the house, crashing into the void that had grown inside him over the years. All the moments he had longed to hear his father's voice again, to touch him, to ask questions that had never been answered, all collapsed into that one sound. Then he noticed a tiny engraving on the back of the watch, something he had never seen before. Right. Time doesn't only move. Sometimes it waits. That sentence, like a code left behind by his father, sent shivers through his spine. A clue to something he had always felt missing but never understood. That same day, Keanu decided to go somewhere he hadn't been in years. The mountain cabin where his father spent his final days. He got in the car, placed the ticking watch in his pocket, and drove. He didn't turn on the radio. The only sound on the road was the steady ticking. Tick, tock, tick. It felt like every step he took echoed with the weight of the past. When he arrived at the cabin, everything looked exactly as he remembered. Except now, a rusted sign hung at the entrance. Silence is sometimes the loudest answer. From that moment on, for Keanu, time started flowing backward. The ticking had become a part of him now. Every soft click from the old watch was like a breath, steady, constant, alive. For days, Keanu had kept the watch on his wrist, never taking it off, as if letting go would somehow break the fragile thread he had just found. But there was one thing he couldn't ignore: the note. It had been hidden behind the lining of the watchbox, written in the delicate slanted handwriting of his father. When it ticks again, follow the silence. The words haunted him. One night, unable to sleep, Keanu returned to the attic, the same room where he had found the watch. Dusty beams above, memories in every corner. He sat at the edge of an old trunk and opened it fully for the first time. Inside, photographs, letters, and a faded boarding pass from 1973, his father's last known trip. Destination: White Ridge, Alaska. It meant nothing to Keanu, but his gut said otherwise. The next morning, he packed a small bag and booked a flight. White Ridge was not a place people visited. It was remote, snow-covered, and silent. As his boots crunched against the untouched snow, the ticking of the watch grew louder in his mind. It was as if it knew. Following a barely visible path through the trees, he came across a small cabin, nearly swallowed by the snow. Its roof sagged, the door heavy with frost. But it was there, just like the photo in the trunk. Inside, the silence was deafening. And then he heard it, a creak from the back room. With cautious steps, Keanu entered. The room was dim, but there on the table was a tape recorder, already running. If you found this, then you've heard the ticking too. The voice was unmistakable, his father's. This watch, It was never just time. It's the story I couldn't finish, but you can. Keanu sat down, his breath caught in his throat. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of something more than memory. He felt legacy. And as he looked out the window where snowflakes danced quietly in the air, he whispered, "I'm listening." Keanu sat silently at the dusty desk of the lighthouse room, the ticking of the old watch echoing louder than the waves crashing outside. The moment he had placed it on the table, it began ticking again, after years of silence. But it wasn't just ticking, it was in sync with his breath, with the memories stirring in his chest. He opened the drawer of the desk. Inside was a single envelope with his name on it. The handwriting was familiar. It was his father's. "If you found this, then I'm already a part of the past, but know this, son, time doesn't move in one direction for everyone. Some of us carry echoes of tomorrow in our hearts." Keanu's hands trembled slightly as he continued reading. His father spoke of a journey, not of distance, but of understanding. That the watch had stopped the day Keanu was born, and again the day his father died. 2 moments, one soul, a connection beyond comprehension. Beneath the letter was a blueprint, a floor plan of a music hall. It had markings, one for a stage, one for a bench, and one circled several times for a hidden compartment beneath the conductor's stand. Keanu remembered the place, a hall his father once took him to as a child. He thought it was a dream back then, the way the floor creaked in harmony, the way his father's steps seemed to lead the whole room in silent rhythm. That night, he returned to the hall. It was still there, abandoned and forgotten, but standing, like an old soul waiting for a listener. He stepped onto the conductor's platform. Every board beneath him whispered something familiar. He knelt down and felt the floor. There, beneath the dust, was a small hidden latch. Inside, a box. Inside the box, a note. "To the one who stopped time, restart it. For the world needs rhythm, and you are the tempo." Keanu clutched the box to his chest. The ticking watch on his wrist aligned with his heartbeat. For the first time, he understood. He wasn't just living his father's story, he was continuing it. In the days following the night the watch came back to life, Keanu barely slept. Each ticking second unlocked a new question in his mind. The letter he found in his mother's closet was still folded in his pocket. Part of him was afraid, but another part was finally ready. He unfolded the letter. The scent of the worn paper felt like it carried decades of silence. The handwriting, his father's. And the first sentence shattered him. "I'm not giving you a watch, son. I'm giving you time." As he read further, Keanu's heart raced. His father hadn't truly abandoned him. On the contrary, he had been watching from afar, silently protecting him. But there was a secret, a vow, one that kept him at a distance. At the end of the letter, it read, "If you brought that watch back to life, then time is now yours. I don't want you to understand me. I just want you to find yourself." The words burned. Anger, sorrow, curiosity, and compassion pulsed through Keanu all at once. He realized this wasn't just an apology, it was an inheritance. The next morning, he traveled to the last known address of his father, an old woodworking shop in a mountain town. The building still stood, though abandoned. Inside, everything looked frozen in time, as if waiting for him. On the table sat another watch, identical to Keanu's. It had never ticked. Beside it, a note. For a second time. Keanu slowly brought his own watch near it. Suddenly, both began to tick in perfect synchrony. 2 timelines, 2 souls, finally reunited. In that moment, not just time, but 2 hearts began again. Keanu finally decided to open the last box he had kept hidden for years. It was an old chest he had found among his father's belongings. His hands trembled as he wiped away the dust. He didn't know what was inside, but something in his heart told him, now is the time. When he lifted the lid, it was as if time stood still. Inside was a yellowed letter, a card from a watchmaker, and a small envelope with 2 tickets, one to Los Angeles, the other to Tokyo. The note on the envelope simply read, "You can't build the future without forgiving the past." He opened the letter and found a farewell message written in his father's handwriting. "Son, I left you this watch because I knew you'd find it where time stopped. I ran from the past, but you're the one fixing it." At that moment, Keanu couldn't hold back the tears. This journey hadn't started with a broken watch. It had started with a heart, learning to beat again. Now he understood. His father was never truly gone. He had simply stopped time and waited for Keanu to restart it. That day, Keanu boarded the flight to Los Angeles. But the ticket to Tokyo, that was his father's unfinished dream. And Keanu would fulfill it. By the end of the journey, Keanu Reeves hadn't just healed his past. He had restored the legacy his father left behind. The watch ticked again. But now, time wasn't just ticking. It was alive, with the rhythm of a life.